Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Well, we are really excited to have representation today from both Promevo and our newest partner, QREW Technologies. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to introduce AppSheet for Google Workspace. You're going to receive a live demo from QREW Technologies, and we're going to explain how to start using AppSheet within your organization. And of course, we always have our Q&A session with our presenters at the very end. So I'd like to start off by introducing myself. I am your webinar host, Hailee Zapata. I'm the Alliance Marketing Manager here at Promevo. Promevo is a Google Premier partner that sells, service, and builds Google products. We are 100% Google focused, and we specialize in Chrome OS, Google Workspace, Google Cloud, and of course, our own proprietary workspace management tool, gPanel. If you are only working with us on Google Workspace, you are just tipping your toe in all the solutions we can provide and help you with. So let's meet our stars of the show today. Our presenters are Jeremy Brooks, who is our Senior Client Success Manager here at Promevo and the QREW Subject Matter Expert. Austin Skidmore, who is the Director of Operations at QREW Technologies. And then Cameron Lupton, our Google Developer Expert. And just a quick fact on QREW, they actually have 6 of the 14 total global AppSheet Google Developer Experts and 6 of 7 in the total North America. So Cameron is one of 7 people in North America who is a GDE, which is completely awesome. We're super excited to have them here today. All right, guys, go ahead and take it away.
Sweet. Thanks, Hailee. All right. Welcome, everyone. Glad y'all are able to make it today. Like Hailee said, I'm Austin from QREW Technologies, and I have Cam here, our Google developer expert. So we're super excited to meet with you guys today. We've got lots of videos on our YouTube channel if y'all want to check that out and are interested in learning more about the ins and outs of AppSheet and what it is used for on a daily basis. But y'all can check that out at your own time. And then, I want to toss it over to Cam for a quick intro, and then he'll get into our content for today.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've been using AppSheet for around 6.5 years. And that was long before the Google acquisition. And so we used to have what we would say, crew, our wagon hooked up to a horse. And then all of a sudden that horse became a Ferrari the second it got hooked up to Google's rocket. And so
Yeah.
we've been dragged behind since day one. We offer services of consulting, of development, and then we also do training for people who desire to build apps themselves in AppSheet. And what is AppSheet? AppSheet is a no-code rapid app development platform. It's owned by Google and it synergizes really well with the rest of the Google Workspace ecosystem and has a lot of native integrations to those. And so it allows you, like them having that position in the Google Workspace, allows them to really easily make all those integrations to the third party Google Workspace apps because it's part of the same ecosystem. And so you're actually able to integrate with those with very low code or no code options compared to a lot of the other no code players in this game. A lot of them really have to have code solutions to connect to these sort of platforms.
From a developer standpoint, what kind of stands out with AppSheet as compared to other platforms that you've used? Like, why choose AppSheet over something else?
Yeah, I just feel like you get to use AppSheet on a single solution. And then as soon as you're done with that solution, you realize that you've already paid for those licenses
Hmm.
and that you can build another app for free for all those same users. Whereas other no code solutions, you have to pay for every single app. And so it incentivizes you building one giant app that does everything and runs slow. Whereas AppSheet incentivizes building multiple apps. Maybe your project managers have one app, your employees have one app, your developers have one app. And it's different user roles have different apps that run
Gotcha.
super snappy quick because you're not loading in all this data from other roles and other workflows that person doesn't do.
Gotcha. Okay. So the microservices
Yeah.
is what it's best used for. How about someone brand new to app development in general? Where do I get started with AppSheet? Why is it a good, we already answered why is it a good
Mhm.
product, but how do I start getting
Yeah.
integrated with the tool and technology?
Jeremy was highlighting something just the other day and how when you go to appsheet.com and you say create new app, it asks you if you want to chat with Gemini to create your first app. And it's pretty cool. You can be like, hey, I want a project management app that has a table of clients, a table of projects, a table of users. And I want a user to be assigned to each project. And I want each project to have a client that belongs to. And it will understand that text prompt that you give it, like ChatGPT or Gemini, and it will convert that sentence that you wrote into a full app with a data backend immediately. And that's just like, that might not be the final app that you want, probably won't be
Right.
the final app that you want, but it will be
Yeah.
an app that you can start like logging information about your projects immediately on. And it's super cool. However, the primary workflow for creating an AppSheet app is usually somebody comes to us or
Mhm.
somebody follows up, like goes to our YouTube channel and sees our tutorials and they're like, oh, whoa,
Mhm.
this Google Sheet that I hate putting in data into every
Yeah.
single day, I can just
Yeah.
convert that into an app. And
Right.
so on AppSheet, whenever you hit create a new app, you can start with existing data and that will
Mhm.
generate an app based off of the tables that your Google Sheet already has in it. So
Nice.
it's super sweet and super beginner friendly.
Yeah. Awesome. Sweet. Let's dive into some of this onboarding and how does it
Yeah.
relate?
Yeah. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide.
Okay. Find my cursor again. There we go.
Yeah.
One more.
So no, this one's good. So a lot of times what we see is that businesses have their primary workflow already built out. So they
Mhm.
might already have a specific CRM in place, or they might already have a specific platform, software system, paper system, whatever, that is already working decently well for them. And they would have to uproot their whole business to switch platforms. And even though AppSheet can do that, and we've done that for hundreds, thousands of clients, that's not always the most like the easiest win that you can take first. And so
Right.
a lot of the language we use is filling in the gaps for businesses. There's all these gaps that we've seen in every single industry that people have a tech startup or even a large company we see a lot of times where they find that certain employees are spending hours and hours a week on this task that if it was done properly, it would save them all those hours a week where they can actually do the type of work they went to school for. And so we see stuff like project managers spending hours a week scheduling and communicating that schedule. If we're like in the construction industry, PMs are constantly communicating schedules. And that's not what they went to school for. That's not why you're paying them money to be somebody who does scheduling. And so we've seen solutions built for that. We've seen solutions built for like IT ticketing or building management ticketing. And so you'll see situations where your IT department or your building managers are constantly receiving tickets through email and they're getting lost and the people sending them feel like they're not being accommodated. They're getting lost in the system. They have no expectations of those ever being completed. We've seen that's an easy solution with an app sheet. And then another solution that would be a gap would be like marketers. Austin right here, he works at a company that is a leader in app sheet development. He's not technically an app sheet developer by job title. He's a marketer in sales. And if you look at his computer, he has built like 30 different apps by himself to accommodate all those small gaps. Marketers outside of Crew have those same gaps. They just settle on like Google Sheets or something like that to accommodate those gaps. But Austin has all these awesome apps that have multiple calendar views, scheduling out all the content. That's like relational data that has notes on each of the campaigns. It connects to different content that has to do with each campaign. And it's like incredible that a non-developer is doing this to fill in his own gaps. It's awesome. That's like the idea of AppSheet right there.
Mhm.
And so these gaps, one by one, might seem trivial, but over the course of having hundreds of them, you're losing out on so much value of your company by them not being properly addressed. And so whenever these like small gaps are properly addressed, that employees are saving time, your business is saving money, and you're helping them altogether do a better job. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And we can talk about, oh, actually one more. So real quickly, what do you think are some downsides a business would have by having a poor onboarding or training process?
There's some points up here, but it
So,
always goes back to the end customer. I feel like if employees aren't properly onboarded, it could lead to downstream effects for the customers, whether it's like they don't know what they're selling, speaking of the retail industry, or they're confused about the proper process for
Mhm.
the buyer journey.
Yeah, or like
Um,
perhaps their training list is up to date or put
yeah,
it into the wrong groups or just result in general miscommunication.
proper storage of inventory items, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm 28 right now. I worked at Crew for 6 years, and I've worked some small jobs before Crew, believe it or not. And I worked at places that were corporate companies that have multiple branches, and they just give you somebody to latch on to that has never trained somebody a lot of times. And they're just like, I do this on a daily basis, and I think I do this thing. And it's just no matter who's training you or what branch you're at, you get trained completely differently. And it kind of mucks up that like brand identity that a company can have. Like if you go to Chick-fil-A, let's say, every single time you say thank you or make an order, they say my pleasure. And it's part of their brand identity of they're trained all that same way. And you go to Chick-fil-A expecting to feel like honored and appreciated. And it just makes you like feel slightly more appreciative of them because they were trained well. And so the instance that we're talking about right here is an onboarding and training app that was created for a retail company. And they were experiencing that same issue where different employees trained by different people were receiving completely different content on how they should do their job. And what this was doing is it was like having a lot of downstream negative effects. And so after they built an AppSheet app, this is like the good things that they saw from this implementation of that small gap. And so for their employees, they were able to streamline onboarding processes, assuring everyone in that role was trained with the same content. They were able to improve their employees' satisfaction of their training experience, and they were able to reduce the rate of employees leaving. For their customers, they enjoy interacting and being serviced by employees that know how to do their job well. And they had, for the customers, increased satisfaction and brand loyalty. Finally, what most of you guys are here for, what did it do for the business? For the business, they were able to achieve a greater level of operational excellence. They were able to improve revenue, improve brand image. And so you can see how just like one small gap that isn't part of their sales dashboard or part of like their product that they're selling. It seems like a small gap, but it actually is able to create a long-term positive effect on their business. And we have this slide right here just to mention why AppSheet was a good solution for this issue. AppSheet is considered a rapid app development platform. So this gets your product out so much faster than native development apps. We have a potential demo that we can show you guys afterwards, where I built an app beginning from complete scratch, not any information about that app, all the way to MVP that could be used within a business within 10 minutes. So I can show you guys how to build an app 0 to 100 in 10 minutes. Were you about to say something, Austin?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So,
Mhm.
thinking in this line of the rapid app development lifecycle, what's the goal of creating an AppSheet app? Is it to release it to the general public? Is it to optimize a business process? Where are we going with these applications?
Mhm. So AppSheet's licensing is on a pay per user basis. So if I have 10 apps and those 10 apps have 80 people using it, I'll be paying for 80 licenses. Unless you have a Google Workspace license, then you automatically get Workspace Core for free. And what that means based off the pricing system is that it really does a good job accommodating businesses' internal workflows. This is not the app platform that you're going to build the next Twitter on. You're not going to build the next Facebook on this because you don't want to pay $15 per user for that type of stuff. But if you're already paying for Google Workspace, then these users are free and you can build unlimited apps for these users instead of bringing on a different no-code platform that you'll have to pay a different thing that you'll have to track the cost for it.
Nice.
Yeah. So another thing is that AppSheet has integration with your workspace directory, and it also has whitelisting by domain. And so you can make it where all your employees automatically have access to specific apps and that they automatically get added to those apps by their workspace directory. Any AppSheet app that you build is automatically available on apps in the App Store as a tablet app or a mobile app. And then you can also access it from any browser, which is super powerful. Another thing is that's easily customizable without compromising speed of development. And that's another potential demo that we could see. What that looks like is we could add an email document that gets sent out whenever somebody completes a course inside this app. And so that will be another option that we have a poll for of what you guys could see. And then finally, it works seamlessly with all the Google Workspace technologies. And it's just an edge that AppSheet has that other no-code platforms don't have. A really cool thing about AppSheet is that there's things called security filters that allow you to filter what data specific users get to see. And so by using that, we can also limit what views that user sees and what functionality that user can have. And so in this app, we'll go into more detail in a moment, but in this app, we see that there's admins, there's store managers, and there's staff. So on the right side, you can watch what type of workflows are happening within this app. And this is specifically on the mobile view as of right now. But an admin has the ability to manage courses. And what that means is they can add, edit, or delete courses. They can make Google Meets automatically from the app. So if one of the training courses that a user has to go through is talking with their manager, they can, in this app, create a scheduled event in their calendar for this user to be onboarded using Google Meets with their manager. You can also do the same thing with Google Classroom for the more Google Classroom type experience. And all this is triggered and created within AppSheet itself. Also, if you get a new user that, let's say, they're working the register at the retail business, you can make it where a course automatically gets assigned to that user whenever they get added or onboarded. So if that clerk gets added to the database, instantly they're assigned all the clerk related courses. And on this slide, we see the store manager. And so these people are maybe what you're thinking of, like the individual branches or the people that are the managers over a specific department of the store. And so these people are the ones who are actually adding the individual staff members and assigning the courses that are like ad hoc assignments. And they're able to review the progress of where their staff is. As we can see on that right side, we see Felix has 0 of 3 complete, and one of them is overdue. Sally has 0 of 3 complete, and none of them are quite due yet. So they're not like behind on anything. Another feature that a store manager can do is we could say, oh, hey, Felix is overdue. Let's click into him and hit the chat button. And what that automatically does is it creates a Google space with you and Felix to say, hey, we see that your loss prevention course is overdue. Please make sure you finish it tonight. We can go ahead and go to the final one, which is the staff member. And just what you would think, the staff member is capable of reviewing their content and completing those courses. Also, they can choose to enroll in optional professional development courses. So you see right there, library, the third option on the thumb menu, that actually allows them to enroll into a course that they're not actually assigned to. That way they can maybe pursue a promotion or so on. Also, if they run into any issues, they can always chat with their manager by creating a Google Space with them the same way. And so this is where we see the superpower of AppSheet. With no code, you're able to access each and every single one of these right here. If you were trying to use any other no code platform, you're either going to be using really complex webhooks or you're going to be using code to connect these things. And so it being part of the workspace ecosystem makes it so powerful. We see things like directory API, the directory being connected easily with whitelisting. We see Google Chat, we see Gmail, Calendar, and Meets working together seamlessly. You can actually add Calendar as a data source within your app, almost like a table where it sees each individual event as a table, as a record in the calendar table of your app. Super sweet. You can automatically do generated reports off of Google Docs, do like weekly reports of everybody's work completed, everybody who's overdue that you need to reach out to, and so on. Whenever somebody gets assigned a task, you can go to their Google task and you can add a task to their Google tasks. And so that way they can just always look at that Google task and know what they need to complete. So we'll go ahead and run a poll. So I believe Hailee has a poll ready to go. And right before I demo this app, I want to give you guys an option on what we want to see afterwards. And so the options we have is to add a feature to this onboarding app. And what that looks is we want to add a certificate that gets generated with the course name and the user's name who completed it and the date time, or let's say just the date that it was completed. Next, the other option is building an app from scratch. This is what I was talking about, having nothing and then instantly seeing an app built within 10 minutes. And so that's an awesome option. And then finally, we can do an extended QA. We're already going to have the short QA, but if you guys have lots of questions, then go ahead and select the extended QA and we can have it a little bit longer. So if everybody wants to go ahead and vote, that'd be great. Austin, Jeremy, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Looked like we had a few questions come in the chat. One particular, this one might be for you, Jeremy, about the licensing.
Yep.
You have 500 users in your organization. Do they all get to create apps under their workspace licenses, at least for core?
AppSheet Core is included with Business Charter, Business Standard up through Enterprise SKUs. And yes, you can enable them to be able to create apps without any additional cost. What you lose out on in comparison to the enterprise tiers are the ability to govern those and provide additional security controls around that. But that was actually big news last August.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was
That's
pretty,
exciting.
pretty huge news. It was a big disappointment for companies that had already paid for it.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and answer this next question. How well does AppSheet scale? And does it slow down if there's too many rows of data? AppSheet is capable of running offline. And what that does is it stores the data offline. And if you're not running it offline and you're running it online, then it syncs a fresh data set of all the changes that have been done since then. And so, yes, the speed of the app is directly related to the amount of rows of data you have. There's definitely other factors that you can rely upon, but I haven't seen it be an issue for the thousands of apps I built, as long as you're showing the data that you should be showing. I have apps that run great with 100,000 rows.
I was just going to add, what are some of the technical aspects of like scaling an AppSheet app? Do you have to use different data sources? How does that work?
Yeah. So obviously things like MySQL will be faster than Google Sheets, or if you're having hundreds of thousands of rows and so on. But also what I see is that a manager might need to see more data than a staff member. And so you can limit the amount of records that a staff member sees, where if the staff member, let's say, only needs to see 2% of what an admin needs to see, their app is going to load really snappy fast.
Gotcha.
Also, if you see a manager, maybe you only need to see the stuff from this year. And so you security filter out that from that year. And then
Yeah.
you have an attribute on the user table that says,
Mhm.
hey, I want to see all archived data. And so
Yeah.
also what it does is it resyncs your app and you have access to all the data of all time. It can take a little bit longer to load, but you're only going to be using that feature when you want to see data past this 1 year. And so you can always limit how much data is coming into your app using security filters. And so you can make it run faster or slower for different users based off of how powerful you want the data to work with. But we see that as long as you're not trying to build your whole entire business into a single app, and then those records are being created on the loop and automatically being created thousands at a time, that you're really not going to run into issues as long as you're intelligently developing the data structure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great. We'll go ahead and demo the app that we have real quickly, and then we'll see if we can get started
Absolutely.
on the poll choice.
Yeah, we did get the poll, and Hailee said that we want to see it from scratch.
All right. I'll do a quick demo of our other app before I jump into that.
Perfect.
All right. You guys should be able to see my screen. And right here, we have the actual app for the onboarding that I'm on the admin perspective. And we can see that I can see the progress of all the employees currently. And we see that Timothy, test.com, and Molly, Hannah, Molly are all completed. But let's say some of these ones are not completed. We can go to my trainings as an admin. I'm not really assigned anything right now. We can go to staff, review the staff, see information, give them a call, create a chat with them, and so on. We can go to library and we can add new content. Let's go ahead and go into manage roles. And let's say if we wanted to, so we were looking at this list and we're like, hey, as a retail company, maybe we want to onboard some social media influencers and we don't want to reach out to IT to add a whole new user role. And so I can say, let's say brand advocate and say social media influencers. It's a cheesy example. Well, let's go ahead and hit save. Then I can do a course and I can add a course that anytime we add a brand advocate, it automatically assigns to them. So if we were onboarding a big social media name and we wanted them to actually follow their brand guidelines and everything on how we get that content out, then they can have a course that walks them through how to do it. And you can assign this. So you can say 5 days after they get added, we want them to have this completed and so on. There's the other perspective of a user, the staff right here. And we can go ahead and let's go to one of the staff members. Let's do test 2 on AppSheet. We can preview as another user, as an editor. And so as test 2, we see a slightly different UI. We see my trainings, the ones that are completed for her, the ones that she has left to do, and the ones that are completed, almost Kanban style, like a Trello board. We have my teams. We have library where they can choose to do additional professional development. So if I wanted to go ahead and learn about conflict management, I can enroll into that quite easily, and it shows up over here. Also, you can change your profile and see the active courses you have. So I'm going to be deep into the thinking. I'll be talking out loud what I'm thinking, what's going through my mind as I'm doing it. But I would love for Austin and Jeremy to entertain the geeks a little bit.
Yeah.
So ask
Add
me
some-
questions and so on. Yeah.
Cool. Add some commentary. And it looks like we have just a little under 15 to 10 minutes, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes.
All right. Let's see what I can do.
Let's see it. Let's see if Cam can knock it out of the park with 0 to 60 AppSheet app. So Jeremy, what's your experience with AppSheet development or no code in general?
Yeah. The first time I heard the term citizen developer, I didn't really know what that was. In fact, I think the first time I heard it was within the context of AppSheet.
Okay.
And I think it's like a shift in thinking from the management of a company to say,
Mhm.
we have this subset of people who are maybe technically inclined and being influenced by CEOs, CTOs, and we have decided what's going to work for the company after much research and development and testing. We know it's going to work.
Right.
To that approach can work just fine, but also
Right.
enabling the people who will benefit the most from the application
Mhm.
to build something very quickly on their own, and
Yeah.
then have the organization kind of improve it and grow it and scale it up. Just the
Right.
concept of a citizen developer was what really drove home the value of AppSheet for
Yeah.
me. And then just getting my hands dirty a little bit, okay, going, oh, look, this
Testing
is
it
something
out.
I can do.
Yeah.
And my first app took about 10 minutes. And then we do have Gemini, formerly known as Duet AI here. And so
Right.
I took on the challenge of adding Gemini into chat and then using Gemini with just a
Oh,
few
wow.
prompts to create an app. And I was able
Yeah.
to create an AppSheet app directly from my chat space interface. And
That's
I had to ask the IT administrator for approval, but
yeah.
within 10 minutes, I had my app that I'd created,
Let's
right
go.
here appearing on my phone. So I could
Yeah.
ask for time off. That was my
Let's go.
that's my
That's a good app to make.
but that's just
Yeah.
super cool because I can
Mhm.
share that with the company if it were to scale up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
someone at the grassroots level can have an idea
Mhm.
and it can have a chance to grow and be proven out and then
Right.
potentially scale up in the company.
Yeah. And then you're like the hero because you've made this app and then someone's, "Hey, I don't
Yeah.
really like this feature. I need this feature added." And then 2 to 3
Yeah.
minutes later, you're like, "Hey, check it now."
Yeah.
And you're like,
But how often does it
"Yeah."
happen that
Mhm.
maybe you have a teammate and you and that teammate have found a system that works? You've got
Right.
some sort of
Yeah.
tool. Maybe you developed a fancy spreadsheet and just the two of you are using it.
Mhm.
What if that tool was something that could help the rest of the company, but
Mhm.
was available across an application across several different platforms? And then at a company and management executive level, something that could be governed and scaled. And so it's an
Yeah.
idea, it's just a way of getting the knowledge and that scaling it up.
That yeah, for sure. I think that's really the idea of AppSheet, and that's one of the reasons why they limit the UI. So one of the questions we often get is like, why is the UI so limited? Because we're AppSheet is trying to limit time to value. And when you want to focus on UI elements or different landscaping elements of like the app needs to have this kind of design aesthetic or
Mhm.
whatever, it's not really the focus of AppSheet. It's really functionality over
Yeah.
a pretty interface or whatever
Yeah.
you might be looking for there, which is good because it keeps your line of business user focused on, okay,
Yeah.
this form needs to have this workflow that triggers this email automation or whatever. And then, like Cam's doing here, getting into some of the expression writing. So, definitely adds a layer of logic that maybe you're used to creating Google Forms or something like that. And this adds just like fuel to your Google Forms. So, yeah, just add a little bit of commentary for the audience of what Cam's working on here. He's moved back and forth between the spreadsheet and the AppSheet editor. So, what you're looking at right now is the AppSheet editor. We have a couple of tabs on the left-hand side, and that's gonna be like your data, your views, action buttons. The robot is the automations tab, and then you actually have a new tab for chat, and you can just integrate chat seamlessly. And then there's a few other options for like global settings below the line there. And then moving just slightly over, this is where you'll navigate between your views, or if you're on the data tab, it like shows you all your data tables that you have connected. I think we had a question come in talking about data tables and how those interact with the different IDs and stuff. So you can add like unlimited number of sheets. I don't recommend adding like too many sheets that will slow down the processing speed of your app, but can let Cam speak to that one too. There's definitely some things that you'll have to think through as you're going through your development process. But for the most part, it's pretty intuitive as long as you just get in there and start um, working with a tabular data set, which is getting a little bit technical aspects, but it's just have your rows, your header row at the top, and then all your data is going down. So let's see what we got here, Cam.
Easy troubleshooting
Yeah.
should be done right here. It should be on to the next step. So far, what I have is I have two tables. I have a tickets table that tracks information and attributes about a ticket, the status and all that. It has a user of who assigned it. The users have a role. The roles can be either HR or staff. Staff and HR are both able to submit a reimbursement request, whereas HR are the only people who are allowed to approve them. And so within the tickets table, I have my tickets, which is only showing the tickets that I've created or whoever's logged in. And I have open tickets where only HR will see that. And that is
Cool.
HR's list of all the tickets they need to complete. So far, I have a way where a user is able to go in here and say, ate lunch with client, let's say Jeremy Promevo. And I can go ahead and type in the information of why I went, what was the strategy behind it, so on, take an image of the receipt and hit save. Now, if I go to the Google Sheets over here, we can see that a brand new ticket got added with a unique ID, the email who submitted it, the time, the date that it was submitted, the title, the info. It can save the image within Google Drive, save the file within Google Drive, and we see that it had an automatic status of opened. Now we want to build up a workflow for let's say a user to see the ones that they submitted. And so let's go back into here and go into views and create a new view. We'll call this one My Tickets. Instead of using all tickets, we only want to see My Tickets. We're going to use that slice, which is the portion of the tickets. We want this to be a table view. And we want the columns for it to show is we want to start off, which is the title, the date submitted, and then we want to group them by their status. And so we see this is all my open ones. If I had another one if I got one that was declined or approved, they would also be separated by this grouping right here. Let's go ahead and move this where it's on the left side. So My Tickets are down on the left side. Let's choose the icon. I'm going to do a folder. And I'll just do a list of folders like that. And then we want to go ahead and create another view similar to this. So we'll go ahead and duplicate this view and call this Open Tickets. Out of the open tickets, we're not using My Tickets. We're using only the open tickets. And this is only the tickets where they're all opened. And so we're going to go ahead and group these by, let's say, the user who submitted them. I don't feel like that's the best option. Let's go ahead and say they're also grouped by the date so that we can have it like that. And we want the date ascending. So as this goes down, the dates are going to become bigger. That way, the oldest ones are on the top. That way, we finish them FIFO first in, first out. Let's go ahead and change this icon for this one into a different folder. We'll go ahead and say open. We'll use an open folder for the open tickets. And right here, we'll see this. And so we want to go ahead and create a detail view for the open tickets. So let's go ahead and create a new reference view. And so how are we right now? We're a little bit over.
I just wanted to tie a bow on this one and then we'll pass it back over to Jeremy for closing us out here. But
yeah,
this is great. We got 0 to 60 real quick. Obviously, we can do a lot more with this for the audience, but this is just scratching the surface for what's possible with AppSheet. Cam, what's one of your highlights, like big takeaways for what people need to know about the 0 to 60 with AppSheet?
Yeah. AppSheet is fun. AppSheet is enjoyable. People that aren't AppSheet developers can jump in and see if it works for them. Especially for you guys who have workspace licenses, it's a no-brainer just to try out. It's something that there's a lot of training resources online. There's a lot of developers. You're in an area, in an environment where you have a lot of support. If you want to if you jump into AppSheet, you enjoy it and you want to go big with it.
All right. Toss it over to you, Jeremy. Thanks, Cam.
Thank you. Thank you, Cam. That was awesome. I think you just touched on something that I want to segue off, of, which was like, it's fun to use AppSheet. And you think about people entering the workspace who have been professionals for, let's say, under 20 years. These are digital natives. They're used to an application, something as simple as an app on your phone. How many apps do our workplaces have that we could all do from our phone? And we're used to this kind of siloed approach of working where I'm going to go to my desk, I'm going to open sheets, but how many times, perhaps I'd love to hear examples in the chat. Have you thought of examples of how something like this could help you? But I can definitely remember a few, being an IT admin myself and trying to track inventory of laptops and being on site somewhere looking. I can definitely remember wishing I had something like this. But what is Promevo's role in this? Our role is really just, we know our customers the best. We have the relationship with them to grow them with Workspace. And we're your next step for learning more about the product, learning how it can help you. And in two high level ways, we help with licensing guidance and licensing management. We can help you strategize what is the best plan for you. Like we are right now with some people in the chat wondering, hey, is what I have access to right now suitable for what I want to do? Is it suitable just for testing? Do we need to take the next step? That's something you could talk through with my role. The second point is account management. I'm a senior CSM here, so I'd like to think that I know my customers really well. And I take any of you who know me, and I see several of you here, at least 4 of you are my customers. I genuinely like to know what you do as a technologist and former admin. It's very interesting. And I take more of a guide, an advisory role and approach. But specifically, my role can help with cost monitoring, staying within a budget. If you are using a Google Cloud database connected to AppSheet, then of course that's something that we can help monitor the cost of as well. Generally, it's very low cost, but yeah. And then my role is also just to connect with resources, right? So whether it's resources at Google or resources at QREW, there's a very good reason that we've chosen QREW to work with. Google relies on QREW and oftentimes pushes customers their way. So we are strategically aligned with them because they are the best in the business. I'll blaze through this because I know I'm really low on time, but I broke down how we engage our customers into just 4 iWords. We inform you of what it's capable of, demonstrate its features, provide resources, share use cases. I have several examples with use cases, and if I had time, I'd like to go into some of those. But I had a customer who wanted workstation reservation tool, and we were looking at all these third-party things, and it turned out that AppSheet had a template for workstation reservation or resource reservation. So inform what it can do, identify pain points, then iterate and conceptualize together, ideate on how it could potentially be valuable to your company. And then lastly, just to integrate to help bring the product into your environment, selecting the licenses, adding them to your environment, helping you deploy those things. But then at the next level, a company like QREW can help enable you by holding workshops, learning sessions, or they can help you develop the product with real hands-on approach. There are 4 AppSheet tiers. We've got Starter, Core, Enterprise Standard, and Enterprise Plus. So Core is what we've been talking about, is included in Workspace. I think everyone on this call is a Google Workspace customer. So you all have access to this tier. And for smaller projects and for getting going with citizen development, this is going to check the box for a lot of you. But Enterprise Standard and Enterprise Plus are where we can build a very robust tool that can connect to multiple data sources and adds governance and security to those tools. If I had a little bit more time, we could do a deeper dive into all the differences of tiers, but that's what I'm here for, to talk to you about your ideas and see which solution might fit best. Lastly, all tiers benefit from Google's latest generative AI tools, now called Gemini as of last week, formerly known as Duet AI. But it's my job to share what's exciting about products. I love connecting customers with the right tool for their job. And Gemini, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, so I'm not going to belabor it, but Gemini can be used from within chat to create an app without ever having left Google Chat. And then in AppSheet, you'll have the ability to use natural language to improve and make changes on that application. Like, I wanted to do this and I want to change it to do this. And then you can also create an app. So you've got the platform of your desktop, platform of your mobile. You can also have a platform for using AppSheet within your Google Chat, where if you're familiar with Slack, and you want to add an application, maybe you want to add Asana or some other thing. Now you can create one of those for yourself and add an app straight to your chat. So I think that's really all it for me. Sorry, I had to blaze through that section.
No, Jeremy, that was great. Thanks for going through that just so they know how Promevo can really help them get involved with QREW. That was wonderful, guys. It was really interesting. I think we needed a second webinar, like a deep dive on use cases and how you can really get involved with AppSheet. So we're going to plan that for the future, guys. So stay tuned. We will have that coming. We hope you guys will check out our website for more information and reach out to us directly to get your own personal AppSheet demo. These guys love doing it. They can show you all the ways to do it. We will also be sending out the follow-up email with this recording and links to the upcoming webinars that are on the right-hand side. We have an AppSheet blog, a one-pager, all the resources for you. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get to some questions. Let me pull up. I know we have a few left. Let's see here.
While we answer question 2, would you like to see the final app?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
I get to submit a ticket in about 5 seconds.
Yes,
Perfect.
see it.
Is there an advantage from a workflow standpoint having Google Workspace rather than just AppSheet as a standalone?
It's really if you don't already have Workspace. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, then AppSheet's still super powerful for you. You can access Excel. You can still do integrations using APIs and webhooks to other Microsoft platforms and products. And so it's still powerful, but it's a no-brainer if you're already in the Google ecosystem.
Yeah, AppSheet really is platform agnostic, database agnostic, as it works across a wide range of different platforms. But like Cameron said, it's in the context of Workspace. It's just a no-brainer to at least see if it benefits your company.
Let me go ahead and submit a ticket in about 2 seconds right here. So I'm on Austin at QREW Tech. So it's a user who is a staff member. I can go ahead and say, ate lunch, need reimbursement. Just putting in some like filler text. Let's say Hop Dottie, big favorite of mine. I'll go ahead and add the receipt, a picture of the receipt. I'll just do a picture of my Google Calendar for now. Hit save. This other user type, who is an HR person over here, he reloads his app. All of a sudden, he sees this ticket on his side. As you can see, there's this open folder right here for HR. This staff member does not have the open folder. And so he goes into here, clicks into here, says, oh, that's pretty valid. I'm going to approve it. Over here on Austin's side, we could send an email saying it's been approved, but he goes to my ticket and he sees that it's been approved. And so on. So we're good to go back to the QA.
No, that's really cool. It's
Perfect.
amazing to do that in 10 minutes, maybe less.
And there's
That's really cool.
notifications about actions taken are customizable too. So they could come to an email or I think even SMS, right, Austin?
Yeah.
Notifications can be made they're completely customizable. What are the questions were there?
Yeah. So how secure are the apps that are created? And can you share them like externally?
Yeah. AppSheet has a secure SQL connection. It also has a secure Google Sheets connection. And so they're fully secure. They're secure up to the level that your actual data source is secure. So if you are not sharing your Google Sheet publicly, it's secure. If you're not protecting your SQL database, it's not secure, but you actually can whitelist the individual IPs of the AppSheet SQL connector, and you can make it where only you and your IP, and then only AppSheet has access to that SQL database, making it fully secure. And the way that you log into an AppSheet app is using the OAuth. And so you have to physically log into their Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams 365 or whatever to get into the app. And so it makes it super secure just right off the bat, fully native.
Okay. I know we're at time, guys, so we're going to go a little over just to answer a couple of questions. But if you need to hop off, feel free. You will get the recording with the answer to these questions later on. We do have a little technical question. Can we make an app sheet screen pull data from a Google Sheet based on the Google Sheet ID passed as a parameter? For example, use one app sheet screen to pull data to that screen dynamically from different Google Sheets based on the Google Sheet ID. That was a lot. I hope you understood that.
I don't know quite what you mean by that. You could have a user attribute of which sheets data you want to bring in. And so you could say, hey, I could turn off the connection entirely for this user accessing any data from this sheet. Therefore, this app isn't showing this different table in the app at all. And so I assume that would accommodate what you're asking for.
Yeah. And you can also initiate an AppSheet app from that sheet. It'll automatically be dynamic because that's the primary source where it was began from.
Mm-hmm.
So, does everyone need an app sheet license within an organization or just some people? Like, how does that work when your company wants to get licenses?
Yeah. So everybody who you want to be using an app would need an app sheet license. And so sometimes that looks like accommodating for all your employees at once. Sometimes you have a strategy on how you want to deploy AppSheet, and that looks like maybe I want to first build apps for our admins and our managers to have a specific workflow completed. And that might only be 10 users the first rollout. And then you guys are like, now that we've seen the AppSheet has proven itself, we want to see what it would look like for each of our individual smaller employees to receive AppSheet and what we can accommodate their processes with. And then you can increase your license count.
Okay, great. We are over time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm in marketing. Like building an app is intimidating. And this was so interesting and it is fun and exciting. And I think it's something that I would love to do. It makes it easier for the person who's not exactly the most techie, IT related person get involved with app building. So I think this is great. If anyone wants a demo, please reach out to us. We would be happy to get with you guys, show you all the features. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you guys in our next webinar. And thank you,
Thanks so
Cameron,
much.
Jeremy, and Austin for a great presentation.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Of course. Look
Yep.
forward to hearing from
Thanks,
you.
everyone.